How is everybody doing? Welcome back to another live stream on the channel. We've got a lot to discuss in today's live stream. We're going to be going over the topic of the current war that is ongoing between the US and Iran. We're also going to be discussing the topic of whether the bottom could be in for the crypto market. We have an awful lot to discuss, so smash the likes on the live stream and make sure you are subscribed to the channel as well if you are new. Also, guys, before we get into the content, make sure to check out Blowfin, which is linked down below. That is the exchange which I personally use for cryptocurrency. And if you use my specific link in the description to sign up to an account and deposit USDT, then you'll be entitled to some potential rewards into your account. So highly recommend doing that. But as I said, we've got a lot to discuss. The crypto market is rallying. We're seeing a nice bounce after quite a turbulent weekend, quite a chaotic weekend, especially when you look at it from a geopolitical lens. And, you know, it's quite surprising to many people that Bitcoin hasn't gone and put in a new low, despite the fact that, you know, we've just had the start of a new war. And we've had strikes across the weekend. We've had the entire Gulf region involved in this. And yet Bitcoin hasn't gone and entered a new low. So to me, that's a very bullish thing. And it actually fills me with a lot of confidence in the fact that I was doing the right thing to be buying in and around the 200-week moving average. The 200-week moving average, funnily enough, is also moving up right now. So there is a high chance that Bitcoin could still hit the 200-week moving average and not form a new low, because of the fact that the 200-week moving average is in fact moving up on Bitcoin. So it could still come down and hit the 200-week moving average, but it doesn't have to go and make a new low. I find that to be very interesting indeed. And as I said, I've been buying the dips, I've been buying Bitcoin and altcoins in and around that 200 weekly moving average on Bitcoin, anywhere around the low $60,000 region, 60K, 61K, 59K, anywhere around that region. I'm buying heavily into the crypto market because I believe it is in a situation where it is macro oversold, macro cheap, and therefore I believe it is a smart thing to be doing to be buying the dip. Bitcoin wasn't cheap at 90K, it wasn't cheap at 80K, but I can assure you in the 60s, it is in fact cheap. That doesn't mean that we can't go down to the 50s. Of course we could. You know, if this war escalates, if things really get out of hand, it's possible we could go down to the 50s. But it shouldn't be a point where you wait for it to buy. You should be buying already, and that should be the point where you deploy the final kind of amount of your capital. Now, that's not me telling you what to do. That's just me telling you exactly what I'm doing in the market. I'm personally about 80% invested in the market and about 20% stablecoins right now, and I'm very happy with that. I have the 20% stablecoins, which allows me to be maneuverable, to be flexible. But I have the 80% allocation, which allows me to be in the market, because it's ridiculous to be fully out of the market when you're that oversold. Everything is flashing oversold. The RSI hit a multi-year low. Bitcoin basically came down to the 200-week moving average, and loads of altcoins, in fact, are also on support. So being out of the market completely, to me, is completely irrational. There is no basis for that. And I think those people are essentially going to be buying back into the market once Bitcoin goes in and around 100K. So we're going to discuss the situation. I see someone in the chat talking about Russia-Ukraine, and I was actually going to draw a parallel to that. We've had one major war in Bitcoin's history, some mini wars here and there, but we've had one major war, which was the Russia-Ukraine situation. And that caused an initial crash for Bitcoin. But shortly after, we really started gaining momentum to the upside, and it turned out to be a nothing burger when you look back a month later. So I believe this is probably going to be something very similar. It causes a short-term bit of panic, but then the market matures, the market realizes that this war is here to stay, and we're going to move forward. Now, I want everyone's opinion in the chat. Do you believe this will be another forever war, another long-term war, boots on the ground, multi-years involved, or do you think this will be a very short-term kind of special military operation? Those are the words we heard from Putin as he went into Ukraine. He said it would be very quick. Everyone around the world said it would be very quick. We're still here today in 2026 with that war continuing, despite it beginning in 2022. It's been multiple years. Many people have died, and that war is continuing. Do you guys believe that the Iran-US situation will be similar to that, or similar to Iraq, or similar to other wars that the US have found themselves involved in within the Middle East? Because typically when boots get put on the ground, that means it is going to be a multi-year war, and it's not going to be a very short-term conflict. Because it's just very difficult. When you've got boots on the ground, you've got two massive militaries fighting each other. Even if one military is very advanced, it's still going to take a long time. And we've seen that with Russia-Ukraine. Everyone thought Russia would just steamroll Ukraine, get the job done straight away. But we find ourselves still there many years later. So just because one army is much more powerful and advanced than the other does not mean that it could continue, that it couldn't continue for a prolonged period of time. And maybe, you know, some of the big BRICS nations helps fund Iran, and it just becomes another bit of a proxy war in the world that continues. And it seems like we're in a new Cold War. I don't know about you guys. I wasn't around when the Cold War was going on, but it seems like we're in a new Cold War. You got Russia-Ukraine going on. Now you've got the Iranian war. It just seems like we're back into kind of like a Cold War period. Some would even go further and say this is the beginning of World War III. I'm not prepared to say that just yet, but it does feel like we're in some new Cold War style situation with the macro geopolitical lens. But guys, I don't think these things affect Bitcoin too badly. If anything, if you think about it from a smart point of view, the Iranian currency is crashing right now. You got a lot of somewhat wealthy people in Iran. I know it's a poor country, but there's still people who got rich off oil, still a decent amount of millionaires in the country. What are they going to do with that money? They can't really... In Iran, it's very censored. Don't know if you guys know, but a lot of stuff in Iran is censored. They probably can't buy US stocks. They probably can't get involved in the S&P 500 or stuff like that, but they probably can buy Bitcoin somehow. So maybe some people are buying Bitcoin, right? Just a thought. Just a thought. And when Russia-Ukraine happened as well, a lot of people were buying Bitcoin then because there was sanctions on Russia, banking sanctions, stuff like that. Some people were buying Bitcoin as a hedge, and it seemed to work out pretty well had you bought Bitcoin as soon as Russia invaded Ukraine, because the price action that followed was very, very bullish. Now, before I get into some of your comments and a little bit more that I want to talk about, I do want to get into some charts and things like that. Please just let me know in the chat. Do you hear a lot of echo from the mic? Because I'm in a new place. It's pretty blank here. There's nothing really here besides my desk and a few monitors and a TV. So let me know if you can hear the audio kind of bouncing against the walls, if there's echo. If there is, I can probably bring a few boxes in here to try and drown out the echo. Because, you know, when you're in a new place and it's unfurnished, you hear the sound bounce against the walls. Just a problem, right? When you're in a new place, I guess some of you guys can relate. But if you can hear that, let me know. If not, great. We'll just continue as usual. Matt Greek, great to see you in the chat. Says, yo, Archie, hope you're well and safe, bro. What's your prediction on when Bitcoin/gold pairing reverses? Do you think the 0.886 long-term... Let me just go back up again. I missed it. Long time frame fib is the bottom. So we'll take a look at Bitcoin gold in a moment, since you're asking, because I do believe this conflict could potentially mark the bottom of Bitcoin towards its gold pair. You got to think about it like this. Gold's been going up the last couple of years for a few main reasons, right? The main reasons gold has gone up. One, central bank buying. The BRICS countries in particular have been positioning themselves more towards gold, and there's been a bit of de-dollarization. So that's one reason. The other reason is uncertainty in terms of the economy, tariffs, Trump, things like that. That's been another reason people have been buying gold, because of just general macroeconomic uncertainty. Obviously, debasement as well, that kind of ties into that. So macroeconomic uncertainty and debasement is another reason. And then the third reason, I would say, is geopolitical risk. The risk of the US getting themselves involved in another war in the Middle East. That's another reason why gold has gone up. So if this war is here and it's here to stay, that geopolitical risk is largely already priced in now, if you think about it, because we were rallying into the event. That's typically what happens, right? You rally into the event, you sell the event. So usually that's how things play out in markets. You buy the rumor, you sell the news. And the things happened. A lot of people were buying gold because of this war. Not only this war, obviously I just mentioned there was other reasons, some reasons which I'd say are even more important than geopolitical risk. But people were buying gold as a result of this war, and now this war has happened, and it's here, and maybe it's here to stay. The question is, are people going to continue buying based off that reason when it's already here now? So that's one thing. I personally think Bitcoin is ready to bounce on its gold pair without me even checking the chart, just from my general market analysis, you know, and my view on the economy and things like that. But I will check the chart for you. But Bitcoin's up about 4.8% on the day, and gold is up about 0.8%. So Bitcoin is significantly outperforming gold. Let's pull up the Bitcoin gold chart. Let's do it now, and then we will get into Bitcoin USD. Since you mentioned it, I think it's an interesting topic. For those of you who don't know, Mad Greek is one of the very helpful members within the group, very knowledgeable members within the group, who we speak to pretty regularly. So definitely get yourselves in the Discord group if you're not there already, because there's a lot of valuable information in that group. So let's take a look at Bitcoin to gold. Thanks everyone for saying there's no echo. I appreciate that. Let's go on the weekly here, see what the hell is going on with Bitcoin gold. So I had this trend line drawn out. This is on the daily, but this already got broken, so it's not really a valid trend line. Let's get rid of that. I don't know why I did that. It's probably a mistake. So looking at this chart, we've got the daily up here. It's evident that we had a major flash crash. This is gold. Let's do gold first, and then we'll go over gold Bitcoin. So looking at gold, because a lot of people have been asking me about gold. We had this major flash crash, which was from, obviously, the new Fed chair. We then started a recovery, and it looks like we're starting to come up and fill that wick. If you go on the weekly, it's a massive wick. It looks like we're coming up to fill that wick. And on the matter of gold, I said that most likely we'll fill this wick first, but I do see us coming back and filling this week after that, this wick. So what's probably going to happen on gold is it's going to come back up, kind of reject around the previous all-time high or a little bit higher maybe. It's going to create a massive bearish divergence, which we can see here. That massive potential bearish divergence will form, and then I believe it will come down and fill this wick down here. Now, if we look at gold divided by BTC, here we go. We do Bitcoin divided by gold. Let's do that. Should be that, right? Yeah, there we go. Bitcoin divided by gold. You know, you look at Bitcoin the dollar, you look at Bitcoin gold, look at Bitcoin silver. So whenever you're doing it, it should be BTC divided by gold, not the other way around. If we look at this pairing, what we've actually done is we've come back to the previous high of 2018. So we're kind of flipping the 2018 high into support right now. That's the first thing I notice on this. The second thing I notice is that we are also at the 886 fib, which you mentioned. So if you're asking me, do I think we'll get a bounce here? I do. I do believe we'll get a bounce. We're already seeing it right now. If you look at the RSI, it's incredibly oversold. Did we get a bullish div on the RSI as well? Yeah, we got a bullish div on the RSI. On the daily there, bullish div. Bullish div on the daily RSI, bouncing off the 886, flipping the 2018 support or resistance into support. There's many things here pointing towards a bounce on Bitcoin Gold. If this was something I could actually trade, I would long it right now. Yes, I think this looks very good, this setup. So anyway, on to Bitcoin itself. Let's discuss Bitcoin and kind of where I see the market going as of right now. Because, you know, a lot of people are saying this war's already priced in. A lot of people are saying that we're going up from here. And I'm going to really give my take on all of this. So if we take a look at Bitcoin, what you can see is we almost came down to the 200-week moving average. I already mentioned that many times, that would be a level for me to buy. And since then, we haven't came back down to that level. Now, the interesting thing is the 200-week moving average is creeping up, and it's almost at $59,000 now. And maybe in a few weeks, it will already be above the previous low here. So the 200-week moving average is moving up, and therefore it becomes possible that Bitcoin could in fact hit the 200-week moving average whilst not making a lower low. That is a possible scenario now, which was not possible previously, because the 200-week moving average, as we know, is creeping up. The 50-week moving average is creeping down. So what I believe is going to happen here is Bitcoin is on track in the next few months for a move up to the 50-week moving average, which is around 100K. It's coming down, but it is around 100K. It might not happen in the next month or two, but I believe this year, next 3 to 6 months or whatever, Bitcoin is headed for the 50-week moving average. I believe most of the fear is over now. We already pretty much priced in an entire 2026 of being red. The sellers overdid it, in my opinion, right? When everyone believes you're having a full year of red, you're probably not having a full year of red, all right? Because it's too obvious. Everyone believes it. Everyone would have already sold. Who are the sellers left? If every single Tom, Dick, and Harry says we're going to have a whole year of red, who's going to sell? Who's left to sell? They already priced in Q1 the whole year being red, in my opinion. It's not a fact, it's just my opinion. They overdid it, they over-egged it, and it's not just my opinion, part of it. Obviously, some of it's subjective, but we can look at an objective metric, which is the 50-week moving average and the 200-week moving average, and we can confirm this ourselves. We just went from the 50-week to the 200-week moving average in a few months. Not a whole year, not half a year, a few months. It did not take long at all for Bitcoin to go from the 50-week moving average to the 200-week moving average. People said this would be a move that would take the whole year. It would be a very slow bear market, slow grind down, lots of chop. No, not at all. We went from the 50-week down to the 200-week like this, straight away, instantly. Basically no break. I mean, we had like a week or two of chop, straight down. Straight down was what happened. So we almost did a full bear market move in terms of the averages in a few months, in Q1. Q4 and Q1, we basically did a whole year of a bear market in that period of time. Now, people say 2022, we went below the 200-week, therefore we'll do it again. That is possible, but besides 2022, pretty much every other time we used it as major support. And 2022 was an interesting year because we did have a recession under Joe Biden, and we also had the collapse of FTX, one of the biggest exchanges in the world. Not just crypto exchange, but stocks exchange as well. So you had two major negative catalysts which pulled us lower than the 200-week moving average. That's what happened. So it was a devastating bear market. Now, we have geopolitical risks this time. Maybe it's the World War III, maybe it's the new Cold War that brings us lower. But I don't know if that's going to be the case. You know, this war was already being priced in a long time ago, a lot of it. Now, obviously, nuclear war isn't priced in. World War III isn't necessarily priced in. But a large part of this conflict was already priced in. I was telling people on YouTube last year that the US would go to war with Iran. I was telling people in my Discord group 2 years ago that the US would go to war with Iran. I was telling people within my Discord, don't believe Trump's whole no new wars rhetoric. Everyone was super ecstatic about Trump. Everyone was so happy about Trump. They believed every word he said. Literally like his sheep. Just believe anything this guy says. I told everyone in the group, I said on many voice chats, don't believe this whole no new wars rhetoric. Trump will go to war with Iran. It's gonna happen. Because I'm not stupid. I can follow the money. I can see the people he's appointed in his administration. It was obvious to anyone with any brains. It was obvious that there was going to be a situation in Iran. Okay? If you follow the money, if you follow the amount of times that Trump was having meetings with Netanyahu, it was evident there was going to be a war coming. Yeah, it's not a huge shock to me. Not a huge surprise at all, in fact. So, I think a lot of the smart players already knew this. A lot of the big whales, a lot of the billionaires, a lot of the people who truly move the markets, they already knew this was coming. You know, it was maybe just the ignorant, dumb retail, which maybe are a little bit shocked by this. But I think smart money already saw this coming. They already prepared themselves for this a long time ago. Hence why gold was going up so much. And hence why Bitcoin was already crashing the last few months. Obviously, not all down to this war. Part of it is down to 4-year cycle sellers. Part of it is down to the new Fed chair being a bit more hawkish than people anticipated. But part of it also is because there was clear evidence that the US was going to be going to war. I mean, you guys literally put your biggest Navy vessels in the region. Now, people say, oh, that could have been a show of power, and that could have been a deterrence. Well, if it was a deterrence, you would only put maybe 1, maybe 2 vessels there. Just your medium-sized ones or whatever, just a bit of deterrence. You wouldn't go full out spending loads and loads of money to put your best equipment in the region if it was just a deterrence. So I thought it was pretty evident, and it's no major surprise to me that Bitcoin hasn't completely crashed, and that's why I did an entire live stream. I did an entire live stream before this war happened, warning you guys that a major trap was coming to try and get you to sell all of your crypto. That was the title of my stream. You can go back and watch it. I said, a major trap is coming. They're going to try and get you to sell all your crypto. They're going to try and panic sell you, and it's going to be short-lived, just like most wars. Pretty much all wars. Russia-Ukraine happened, a little bit of a crash, came straight back up. And you could go back and look at wars in the 90s, wars in the early 2000s. Go back and look at all of that, and you'll see most of the time, wars are short-term bearish, but long-term bullish. The market takes a little bit of time to sink it in, to take it in, to come to terms with it. Once it's processed it moves on. It moves on, and you see major pumps out of the little shock factor. You have the little shock factor. Like I said, it takes time for people to process it, but major rallies come after the shock factor has been absorbed. Think about it like a shock absorber, right? A shock absorber. Takes a little time for the shock to be absorbed. Once it's absorbed, you absolutely explode. So, we can take a look at the short term here on Bitcoin. I appreciate everyone being in the stream. Make sure to hit up the likes. Let's try and get as many likes on the live stream as possible. And if you want to see exactly what I'm buying in the market as well, make sure you are in the VIP group, which is linked down below. Just checking the news here. So it seems like Israel is striking Lebanon specifically today. At least 52 people have been killed and 154 wounded. So it seems like the offensive from Israel is focusing on Lebanon today more than anywhere else. obviously Iran, but it seems like they're focusing on Lebanon right now. Okay, so if we look at Bitcoin here in the short term, we've got Bitcoin on the hourly. You can see that we've come up to exactly the point where we went to on Wednesday for me, and we have rejected at exactly that same level, exactly that level. So Bitcoin needs to get past 70k, 70.1 to be exact. And if we get above 70.1, I believe that move up to 74k will be imminent. And I want to say to you guys that if Bitcoin manages to get a weekly close above $74,000, that drastically shifts the momentum in favor of the bulls. A close above $74,000 on the weekly drastically shifts the momentum in favor of the bulls. And if we get a close this week, bear in mind we've got a long way to go this week. If we get a close this week above $74,000, I personally would be quite confident that the bottom is in. Not that we're in a bottoming range anymore, but that the bottom is officially in. I would be pretty confident. Not certain, you can never be certain, but I'd be pretty confident that the bottom would be in. Confident enough to call it as a base case, okay? Right now, my base case is that we're in a bottoming range. Maybe the bottom's in. Maybe we go slightly lower. That's my current base case. So not confident enough to call the exact bottom officially, though I think there's a strong chance that it is in. If we get a weekly close above 74k this week, I would be confident enough to say that my base case would be that the bottom is in. And I want to make it clear, when I say my base case, that does not mean it's a certainty. That means that that is my current thinking, that is my current line of thought, that is what I believe is the most likely scenario. That's what base case means. It means my most likely scenario would be that the bottom is in. Nothing's certain. And I can be wrong. Been wrong before in my life, and I'll be wrong again in my life. That's a guarantee. There's one guarantee with investing. You will be wrong from time to time. So, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But just here to tell you guys exactly what I'm thinking, exactly what I'm seeing, and it's up to you to do what you want with it. But I've been fairly adamant that buying the low 60,000 region was a smart move. And right now it's starting to pay dividends because I'm up very nicely on a Bitcoin long. I'm up very nicely on my spot portfolio, which the VIPs gain full access to. There is a link down below to the VIP. I'm actually going to do a discount code right now. Let's do a discount code. Let's do a discount code for everyone in the stream today. If I can, I don't know if I can log in. Let's see. Anyway, I'll do this while I'm speaking because I can multitask. But yeah, Bitcoin needs to push above that resistance that we rejected at last time. If we can get above that level, then yeah, I believe we're on track for $74,000, which, you know, is quite surprising to many people. But that's why I always recommend to people that you don't focus and hyper-obsess too much over conflicts and over news when it comes to your Bitcoin buy strategy. You should focus on the charts. Look at the charts, look at when Bitcoin is oversold, and buy then. Don't try and front-run news events. Don't try and, you know, overanalyze things and kind of rationalize the market based off the news. I can assure you that will not be a very effective strategy. I've tried it before in my life and I failed drastically. Don't do it. Look at the charts, look at the fact that Bitcoin's oversold, and take advantage of that. If you're trying to think about what could come in the future, you're never going to buy. Because every single time the bottom is in, there is always another potential negative catalyst to come. Always. Without fail. There's always one more thing to come which could dump us. Always one more thing. When FTX crashed, people said Crypto.com would be next. When Russia invaded Ukraine, people said World War III would break out and the whole world would be at war after that. Didn't happen. There's always something next to dump us. Always. every single bottom is at peak FUD. There's always something else, and then there's another thing, and then there's this, then there's that. You're just going to get wrecked if you try and time this market based off news events. You really are. Sometimes there's being too logic. I don't know if you guys agree with me. But sometimes you can be almost too smart, too logical. Overthinking things, looking at the news too much. Trying to almost play God over the market. Just buy the dip. Just buy the fear. Buy something that's massively oversold that you believe in. I believe in Netflix. I think that stock is going to go higher. Do you know what I was doing when it was crashing? When it was crashing hard the last few weeks? I was buying the dip. It's paid dividends now. It's gone up a ton. Made a ton of money on it. So, it's just a simple strategy. Stop focusing so much on the news. Stop trying to think multiple steps in advance and think that you're super smart, being able to time the markets based off the news, and just look at the charts. Focus on the charts. Don't get me wrong, look at news events. I pay a lot of attention to the news because it gives me market context. But I don't have a buy strategy based off the news. That's a very dangerous thing to do. Okay, so let's do a promo code. I'm going to do a code for 20% off the membership. Wow, 20% off any of the membership options if you use this this code at checkout. What should we do? Let's do the code World War 3. WW3 is the code. WW3. World War 3. And let's set it so it expires in a few days. There we go. All right, that should be live. Use the code World War 3, abbreviated WW3 at checkout, and you'll save yourself 20% off. Bitcoin Gold does look bullish. It looks really bullish. We have that bullish divergence, hit the 886, super oversold RSI. It looks really bullish. All right, let's go through some of the comments. Let's go through your comments, but it's been a green week and very green day across the board for the crypto market. Very impressive what I'm seeing. We're holding up really well, showing tremendous strength despite major geopolitical uncertainty. All right, we've got 84 likes on the live stream. Let's try and get that up to 205. There's 205 people watching. It'd be amazing if we can replicate that with the likes. Let's get that live chat up, see what everybody is saying about the markets. All right, Coin Operated, Mr. J, Apex, Delivery, Chirp. How is everybody doing in the stream? Ondo is a good buy right now, says Apex. Yeah, Ondo came back down to super low prices. The only thing with Ondo at the moment is, you know, are they really going to be one of these big tokenization platforms, or are these major companies, banks, etc., stock exchanges, are they just going to create their own platform? Are they going to trust Ondo, or are they just going to create their own? Chirp says, don't you think we come up to 80k and then drop hard to the low 55k range? Thanks for all you do and stay safe, brother. Yeah, look, it's possible we could go slightly lower than 58 was the low, I think. It's possible we could go slightly lower, go to 55 or 53. But to me, it's all the same. 58, 53, 55, it's all pretty much the same. I'm not really that bothered about those differences. So whenever we see the low 60s, I'm buying. I'm not buying today because we're at 68.9. That to me isn't extremely cheap. I mean, it's pretty cheap, but it's not super cheap. I began my heavy buy into the market around 64k. For those of you who don't know, maybe you're new to the channel, I sold my portfolio, the remains up here at the 50-week moving average. And I bought back in when we crossed around 64k. So bought back in at 64, sold up here. So I've had a very effective strategy. And I made great gains this bull run, by the way. Really, really good gains. This chunk here was where I bought most of my crypto. And this chunk up here is where I sold most of my crypto. So I had a very effective bull run, I'll tell you that. Deployed most of my capital down here. Sold most of my capital up here. So, or most of my crypto up here into capital, into fiat, or into stables. And now I'm deploying it back here. So I'm happy with my strategy. It's been pretty effective. Pretty simple, but pretty effective. And you know, I want to give you guys a little bit of a lesson in crypto. Don't overcomplicate things. If you look at too many indicators, listen to too many influencers, you're just going to overcomplicate things. Stick to the basics. Because sometimes simple is actually the best strategy. In life, people overcomplicate way too many things. Quite often, the simplest answer is the correct answer. I can hear planes and helicopters going off constantly in the background, but the airspace is closed, so I assume that is, you know, Air Force. See if we've got any updates. You know, I can just talk from my perspective, because some of you guys are asking me, I hope you're safe, are you safe, etc. I can just talk from my perspective right now. I'm in Dubai, for those who don't know. There was some strikes last night, but since then I haven't heard anything myself. I haven't heard anything on my end. I know maybe some people have, but I haven't heard any loud explosions since yesterday, actually. So that doesn't mean that they're going to stop completely, but I haven't heard anything since then. I know that the UAE and Qatar have been trying to put some pressure on the US, I believe, to stop. I read that on the news. So we'll see what happens, but I do think there's a strong risk that this could spill into a prolonged war. I don't know if you guys listened to Trump earlier, but he basically said there's no time constraint on this. There's no time limit. It can draw out as long as it takes. Whatever it takes, he said. So I don't think Trump's necessarily in a major rush, but I think the longer this goes on, the more unpopular he will be, because if you look at some of the polling, it's pretty evident that the general populace in America opposes any military intervention in the Middle East, and they especially oppose boots on the ground, I think. There's already been a couple Americans lose their lives. I think if boots go on the ground, it's going to be in the hundreds or even the thousands if boots go on the ground. So it's not going to be a good thing, and I think that would be deeply unpopular in the US. We've already had the Iraq War. We've already had Afghanistan, Libya, all these different conflicts. I don't think they want another one. I think people are smartening up to it, and they don't want any more wars. And Trump campaigned largely on this whole peace argument and no new wars and all of that. So if this does become a drawn-out, boots-on-the-ground style invasion, I think it's going to be deeply unpopular. And I think the Republicans will get smashed in the midterms. Doesn't matter what your opinion is on it. You could be a Republican, you can be a Democrat, you can be somewhere in between. But it is a fact that war is unpopular on a political level. The general population doesn't like it. They don't want it to continue. They don't want soldiers dying, and they want it to end. Causes also a bit of uncertainty within the country. You can have attacks within the country. You can have a bit of disorder, protests, riots, stuff like that. People they just don't want that. They just don't want a war for the most part. You know, I guess 70% of people don't, maybe 80. I mean, you guys could tell me. I assume maybe half the viewers are in the US. How many of you guys actually want this war? The best thing Rob did was introduce us to Archie. Wow, appreciate that. Ricky says, hey Archie, since you are very educated in politics / economics, you should do prediction markets. You should make a chat for prediction markets in the VIP and pick your picks. I think you'll be really good at it. Yeah, I think I'd be tremendously good at it. I'd probably be better at prediction markets than crypto. I don't know why I don't do it. Is it even allowed in Dubai? I don't know. I'd have to look into it. But honestly, I think I would be better at prediction markets than crypto. And by the way, I'm very good at crypto. I've made millions in my teenage years from crypto, from starting with $2,000. So I'm very good at crypto, but prediction markets, I think I'd be even better at, honestly. Because I would say my knowledge about economics and politics is maybe even higher than my knowledge than crypto. Like, I know a lot about crypto. I understand it very well, but I think I'm even better at that, potentially. Because I predicted a lot of stuff that's already happened. One thing I wouldn't have predicted, though, and I'll admit this, hands up, I did not expect Khomeini to die day one of the war. That was pretty crazy. The fact the supreme leader was killed day one of the war, that was pretty surprising to me. That they took him out day one. Like, you'd think he would have had a better safety protocol or something, right? Usually they fly off to another country or something during the war. But maybe they could have shot the plane down, I don't know. But you would have thought they would have a more effective strategy to safety than what they did. What are you buying right now? Well, I recommend joining the VIP, and you'll be able to see exactly what I'm buying in real time. So I don't want to go and tell you exactly what I'm buying, because that is a paid service. That's exactly what the members are getting over there. They're getting my exact buys, how much of my portfolio, and exactly what price. So I'd be giving away the secrets if I was to tell you everything I'm buying right now. But I'll tell you, we're printing. We're printing right now. We're making good money. And this is just the beginning, honestly. This is really just the beginning. We sold high and we're buying low. How much better can it be? I saw this from Elon as well. This is really funny. Alcohol, weed, cocaine, monitoring the situation. This is one of the funniest things that the guys posted. Alcohol, weed, cocaine, monitoring the situation. Damn. It's so true, though. It's funny. I see these memes on X, and it's like a guy with 10 monitors. All with different, like, flight radar, Bitcoin chart, gold chart, oil chart, Twitter. He's got, like, 10 monitors, and the guy's, like, got $100 portfolio. His monitoring the situation deck costs more than his portfolio. He's got all these crazy softwares and stuff going on to track all the flights, all the missiles, live feed, live news, Bloomberg on one screen, CNBC on the other, Al Jazeera on the other, Sky News on the other, CNN, Fox Business. He's got all the news channels, loads of different monitors, loads of different charts, and his portfolio is $100. And he works at McDonald's. He's got work the next day. He spent the whole weekend monitoring the situation with his $100 meme coin portfolio. Oh, man. Can't make this shit up. It's funny as hell. So what's interesting, you're seeing, obviously, across the West, a lot of anti-Iranian government protests, but in Iran itself, seems like you're getting a big rally basically calling for war with America, which, you know, is kind of heating up the situation a bit, I guess. Also, for those of you saying Dubai is, like, not a good place to be right now, the leaders The leaders of the country walking around the mall, you know, hugging some of the kids, getting pictures with some of the people. Just walking around the biggest mall in the world, or one of the biggest malls in the world, right? In midday. Midday, they're walking around. That's how safe this country is. You know? Business as usual, life as usual. So, find that crazy. Like most countries, could you imagine if the leader of the UK, Keir Starmer, could you imagine he just went to some mall in Manchester, just went into the Arndale? Whilst the country's getting hit with missiles as well. Could you imagine? Imagine the UK was getting hit with missiles and Keir Starmer could just walk into the Arndale or the Trafford Centre. Some random mall in Manchester. And just chill at a cafe. What would happen? Crazy. He was literally just sat there chilling. Chilling at the cafe. Cafe I've been to quite a few times actually. Sat in the same spot that I was sat in a few weeks ago. Don't over leverage on futures. It's very high risk. Yeah, don't over leverage. Don't over meme coin trade. Just keep those things 1% of your portfolio. Aster is down a bit. Yeah, there's going to be one or two coins that are down. Who do you believe will be the Democratic nominee? I think Gavin. Gavin's a 4.5x payout? Nah, surely not. 4.5x payout. Maybe for the president, but surely not for the next. Oh, maybe it's a 4x payout for if he announces it by the end of this year, right? Maybe by the end of this year. Yeah, I think Gavin Newsom will probably be the Democrat nominee. It's probably going to be J.D. Vance versus Gavin Newsom. I think it's going to be a closer race than what a lot of people think. That's what I think. It's going to be a pretty much 50-50 race. But yeah, Bitcoin, bit of a double top here. Let's see if we can push higher. But I listened to Trump earlier, and Trump basically said that they're happy for this to draw out as long as it takes. I think he said 4 or 5 weeks. Four or 5 weeks. And, you know, usually they give a very short estimate of how long they expect it to take. 4 or 5 weeks could mean 4 or 5 months. Typically, because they always want to say it's going to be shorter than expected. Let's see if there's any news updates. Let's see if anything is going on. Let's monitor the situation. Look, there's this site literally called Monitor the Situation. So, IRGC threatens a total regional oil export blockade. IRGC threatens Strait of Hormuz closure and ship fires. Seems like Lebanon is getting hit pretty hard at the moment. The US Army has struck over 1,250 targets in Iran. Yeah, so I haven't heard anything where I am in a day. It was a normal day for me. Went to the mall, had a coffee, did a little bit of shopping. Seemed just normal busyness, to be honest. Maybe a little bit quieter than usual. But it is a Monday after all. So we've got a post here from Bull Theory saying Iran has now officially closed the Strait of Hormuz, which carries 20% of the world's oil supply. The IRGC has threatened to set fire to any ship attempting to pass. Okay, this will have a serious impact on oil prices. Let's see what oil's doing right now, actually. Let's check up on oil, see if anything's happening. Okay, so this is the oil chart I've been monitoring now for a long time. This oil chart I've been monitoring for ages. You can see every single time oil has hit this resistance line, we have rejected every time without fail. This time we've actually wicked above it, and it looks like we are attempting for a breakout here on oil. If this happens, oil is gonna go to the freaking moon. It is gonna absolutely explode. Oil will go parabolic. If it breaks above this resistance line on a weekly close, something it hasn't done the entire time this has been valid, almost 3 years, it's going to go to all-time highs, guys. I'm sorry. It will go to all-time highs. People are even suggesting it could go to $200 per barrel because of some of the things that might happen. Iran started targeting, I believe, European oil and stuff like that, or Qatari oil. They've started targeting oil within the region as well. So there's going to be a shortage potentially, and it seems like they're threatening a lot to do stuff with oil. But let's see what Polymarket is saying. Will Iran close the Strait of Hormuz? So it's still not confirmed this yet. Despite that X post saying that it has officially closed it, Polymarket's still giving it a 62% chance this month. So not confirmed it. They've partially closed it right now, but they haven't fully closed it. They're allowing Chinese boats, or ships rather, to go past, I believe. Is the volatility why you stick to crypto? Yeah. I mean, I invest in stocks, but I don't really trade them. I kind of, whenever I buy stocks, I plan to just hold them for 5 to 10 years. Whereas with crypto, I like to buy and sell them on like a year-to-year basis, pretty much. Or like a cycle-to-cycle basis. Yeah, Asta's doing well since my call. I don't know why people are flooding it. Yeah, I bought Sui on the dip. Eric says, this might sound crazy, but I think the bottom was in at 59k, sideways for a few months, though. Yeah, we could go sideways for a few months, even if the bottom is in. That's typically what happens. But Bitcoin's looking bullish, and if we get a weekly close above 74k, I'm pretty optimistic about what's to come. Nelson says, Archie, where do you see Bitcoin by the end of 2026? Honestly, around 100k, I think we can hit this. I think we can hit 100k this year. I'm not saying it will be at the end of the year. It could be at the middle of the year, and then we pull back towards the end of the year. But I believe we'll hit 100k this year. It's hard to know exactly where we will be at the end of the year, but I believe we will hit 100k plus or minus a little bit this year. And let's see what Polymarket is saying for that. What price will Bitcoin hit in 2026? It's given it a 40% chance that Bitcoin hits 100K this year. I think it's a little bit higher than that. Personally, I think we will hit 100K this year. I'm liking what I'm seeing with BTC at the moment. But I'll continue to update everyone. I'll continue to be in the Discord voice chats pretty much every single day, because that is what I do for the VIP members. Daily voice chats, telling them exactly when I'm buying, exactly when I'm selling. So check that out. Use the code WW3, World War 3 abbreviated, at checkout to save yourself around 20% on the membership. That'll be a very short-term discount code, so make sure to make full use of it while it is active. That also applies to the lifetime, the bundle, and the course package as well. Check out Blowfin, which is linked down below. That is the exchange which I personally trade on. And if you use my link in the description, you can potentially gain some free USDT into your account. If you use my link and you trade on the exchange, you'll be deposited some potential rewards. And yeah, appreciate all of you being here today on the stream. I hope everyone has a great rest of their day. And I'll look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Hopefully it's another quiet night here in Dubai. And I can sleep without being woken up constantly by explosions going off like it was the other night. Appreciate everyone being here. Have a good rest of your day. And yeah, see you in the next one, guys. Goodbye.